Hello, everyone, and how's it going, mate? What's up? I'm Humza, and with me, I have a very special person, very close person. He's just super dear to my heart. We've known each other since we were 7 years old, and yeah, he's practically like my brother. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Ramish, and yes, as Humza stated, I've known him all my life, and I do wonder sometimes how my life would either be better or for the worse if I hadn't known him. For now, let's just focus on the better. We're doing this podcast. This is a big, well, it's something, if not big, of a decision
It's a
that we've
big deal.
made
I feel
together.
like it's yeah, definitely. I feel like it's a big thing. Like we've been talking about it for ages, because we just have a lot. I feel like both of us, we just have a lot to say, and we can talk with each other for ages. And I was like, I mean, both of us, we thought it'd be a great idea to start a podcast, and maybe other people will take interest on the rubbish that comes out of our mouth. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope so, because we've been talking nonstop since we began this entire phone call podcast
Yeah.
recording thing. I mean, it's been half an hour since we've been talking, and then we finally
Yeah,
got down to
literally.
recording.
We. Well, I'll tell you a little bit of backstory. Okay, this is a bit of kind of like so. Last week, so if you haven't already, we have an Instagram page which we put up just kind of in preparation, just to spread the word that we're doing this, just with our friends. I don't know. Hopefully, it'll start off with our friends, and then other people will get to know about it and everything. So yeah, we got the Instagram page running, saying yeah, we will kind of like come up with our new podcast. So we recorded it last week, and it was great. Honestly, the content was gold, hilarious. I listened back to it. I mean, you know when you listen to your own voice and you're like, "Oh my god, that's so cringy." I
Yeah,
mean, maybe it was a bit of that, but at the same time, I was like, I couldn't stop smiling. I was like, "This is so funny." But unfortunately, because we have no idea how podcasts work or how to edit. I mean, Ramish, he's a bit more in the business more than me. I have no idea how this whole kind of like thing gets put together. So there was just too many technical difficulties, and there was just the audio files were messed up. So we were like, re-record, and that's what we're doing now.
yeah, it's a bit tragic that because honestly, while editing the previous one, there were moments where I was just like, okay, can we just somehow forget what we said, and then redo it again and say the exact same thing because it was just brilliant. I don't want to toot our own horns here, but no, really, it was something else, and I hope this isn't too bad. So anyone listening, I hope
Yeah.
you're not bored yet.
I mean, yes, 3 minutes in, but I think it'll be good. Okay, so you know who we are, you know what our life has been like, and now we're just two grown men. Ramesh is, if you didn't know, I mean, those people who don't know Ramesh, he lives in Pakistan. He's a friend of mine from when I was living there, and who people who don't know me, I'm Hamza. I live in the UK. I moved here 10 years ago, and yeah, so that's why we're having a bit of a struggle. There's a bit of a struggle to kind of like put this together. Well, hopefully, it'll come out amazingly, and then you'll be like, wow, oh my god, these guys are the best.
Yeah, I hope this beats all the charts and it's top of everything, and we get to make some money out of this.
Yeah, no, let's not say that right now. I mean, that's not our aim, obviously. We don't
No,
want to
no,
be
no.
millionaires. Who does? I buy the lottery every week. Okay, so I mean, what we want to talk about on this podcast, I want to kind of like, I mean, we both decided a good idea is to kind of like talk around the topic of astrology, right?
Yeah, that's what we agreed on.
What it means to people, what it is it bullshit, different aspects of it, and just like what, like why, you know? What do you
Okay,
think?
let's begin with the most pressing question that's on everyone's mind. Is it
Okay.
bullshit, Hamza?
I will definitely say it is bullshit, but that does not mean that people don't use it in a way that benefits them. All right? I want to get it out there right now, and also I want to say these are just our opinions. These aren't facts, but please listen to us because we know everything.
Couldn't have said it any better. Okay, so this is where we disagree, just slightly. I do think it's bullshit as well, complete bullshit. There's absolutely no truth into it whatsoever. But I
Hmm.
don't understand why people would sort of turn to astrology for either its guidance or support or whatever they're looking for, uh, b- besides other means of, I don't know, companionship maybe, or just other mediums to support what they're craving, what's missing from their lives.
Yeah, it's relatability. First, let's start off with talking about what is astrology. So, I don't want to kind of like tell people what they already know, but what we understand from astrology is it's the study of the stars, right?
Hmm.
The stars and the planets, things that exist in the universe, and the study of it and how these things affect us on Earth. Correct? Is there anything else I'm missing?
Yeah, I think yes, you're completely right about the whole stars and planets thing, but I think it follows more the idea of constellations and what they mean, not just like single stars. Isn't it something to do with constellations as well? Because I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
Virgo is a constellation. We're in the Virgo
yeah. No,
supercluster.
no, no. Yeah. It is a constellation. Yeah, a constellation of stars. That's exactly like different stars, different planets coming together. When they interact with each other, or how they are in the universe, their position at a certain kind of time will affect people who can relate to it, and how they relate to it is identifying by the time they're born, or something like that. So, like, you're a Virgo, right?
I am.
I asked that, but I knew that. Obviously, you're my best friend. See, that's the thing. Like, how do we? These things just pop into our mind automatically. Like, we just know, we identify people as we put these people in certain groups already, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes, but don't you think that knowing how the climate is going, especially the social climate of the world, people don't want to be put into boxes. At least the really far left of the group don't really want to be put into the boxes. But then you see this trend where they do subscribe to beliefs like astrology and healing and meditation and all that sort of stuff. That does put them inside this box.
Yeah. Like, definitely, people don't want to be grouped. People don't want to, for them to be defined by something that's how could you say, stereotypical, or like, visual, or like just assuming things about people. But this is literally that. It's assuming that you are this type of person because you're born in a certain time of the year. And, Virgos will be like this. Like, if you read a horoscope, I how can you kind of like say, a couple million people, billions of people, um, who are Virgos or Scorpios or whatever, identify the same way? It's impossible, but it's so generic. They kind of like keep it so generic that you can't help but relate it, and people want that. People want to relate to other people. They want to say, "Oh yeah, me too. I have the same thing in common. We're both this type of people." Why do people take these quizzes all the time? Have you ever taken a quiz on like Facebook or whatever, like these personality type quizzes?
I've been
I have. I've taken loads.
I've been forced to take a few BuzzFeed quizzes, but I don't think they amount to much. But yeah, I have taken a few personality quizzes. I've understood a few, not really understood the rest. Let's say the Big Five. That's a personality quiz that's being used by psychologists, I believe, around the
Yeah.
world. Jordan Peterson is a very famous advocate of it. I used that. I didn't really sort of understand much about myself, but then I think I even forced you to do an MBTI test when I did it as
Mm,
well.
mm.
And it was amazing how we both were the same personality type. That was really genuinely shocking to me. But
Yeah, and that's an exciting thing, isn't it? When
it
your
was, yeah.
friend or mate is similar to you, and you want to know that, and more importantly, you want to know about yourself. You want someone else to tell you that this is your type of personality. You are this type of person. But why do we need that? Why do we need that kind of why do we need that kind of reassurance from other people who don't even know you and have kind of like written this together, or like kind of like a computer program? It's basically a computer program, isn't it, that just kind of puts you in a category according to your answers, and that's it. You're like, okay, this is me now. This is who I am. That's the thing. I don't think it should run your life. Like, I don't think things like this should tell you who you are.
I mean, yeah, that could be the case for BuzzFeed quizzes where you're taking a quiz about what color of Cinderella's dress are you. That's purely algorithmic. But when it comes to like actual tests, and I'm genuinely not including astrology into this whatsoever. But I'm taking other tests that have been verified, and I have this scientific, rational sort of thought process behind it, and this mechanism to support it. You're more likely to believe that or follow through with it, understand where it falls apart and where it doesn't, where it can help and where it can't. Not so much with astrology, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a good point. We're getting a bit kind of like, off topic,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's actually now the thing about it. Obviously, these questions, when you answer these questions, especially like I've taken loads of job interview tests and stuff and online tests, they're called like psychometric tests, that you answer a set of questions and they give you like scenarios. What would you do in this scenario? If someone did this, what would you do? And it just literally kind of like helps you understand, or helps the employer understand what would you do in certain situations. And I feel like those, I guess those have some sense to it. It's a bit of like it helps the employer judge what you do in certain scenarios and make their decision. I guess that has some rhythm and rhyme to it,
yeah.
and it has some reasoning. But getting back to astrology,
No, no, wait. You
whereas
know what? You mentioning
go on.
job tests and everything reminded me of a time when I had to do one of those. And strangely,
Yeah.
this is what introduced me to MBTI. I was at this job interview, and they
Hmm.
classified you. They sort of picked out your seating positions based on your MBTI results. So, based on
Oh.
my result, guess where they put me?
Right at the end.
It
I don't
was
know.
literally at the end of the room, me facing the wall, nobody around me.
What? Because you're a cheater.
No, because I perform better alone, I guess. I think. I was happier then that
Uh,
way.
oh, you are. Yo, I mean, like, we know, I mean, me and Ramish both are. I mean, I'd say we're extroverted, but we're very kind of like, I don't know. How would you
Speak
explain,
for yourself, man.
describe us?
I,
I
I,
mean,
I, I famously claimed a few times that I do not like being with people.
neither do I. But the thing is, when I'm around people, I want to be, you know, big, and I want to be kind of like loud. And I mean, to be honest,
Like have a
I don't know.
presence.
Yeah, I like having a presence. I like being. I mean, sometimes I like being the center of attention. I like kind of like being the funny guy. You know,
Mm, mm.
everyone like gathers around and has a laugh, and I want to be the center of that. But at the same time, I pick and choose those moments very carefully. Like I don't want to do that all the time. I'm a homebody most of the time. Like sometimes I could spend the whole day not saying a word to anyone and be happy about it. Like literally just not seeing anyone, not just like going out by myself, and just staying to myself, not saying anything, listening to music, and just spend the whole day like that. I have no problem. Even at work, like, it's fun. It makes you spend the day a bit better, and like, it's easier if you kind of like walk around and talk to people. But I would prefer if no one said anything to me.
No, I
You know what I
completely
mean?
relate. Yeah, and knowing we're in the situation where everything's in lockdown, every country is just going through the same mess, and we're expected to be in our homes, I can see people around me freaking out. I mean, my own family just completely losing their minds, and I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah.
relaxed. I am so relieved.
Yeah. I mean, like it's everywhere. Like, I mean, it's a very confusing time. Like this whole COVID-19 thing, and a lot of people I know have been ill, and few people have passed away, that I've known, which is all very kind of like concerning. But people are more worried that they how are they gonna survive just staying at home all this time, and like life's not gonna be like, oh, you just do whatever you want. No, I mean, like, there's obviously a lot of precaution now, that, and people are freaking out. You're right. Like, people need that kind of, I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, chill, man. Just relax, stay home. I mean, take this
Yeah.
opportunity to kind of like really reflect on yourself. I feel like that's important, don't you think? Like, spending time with yourself and reflecting on yourself.
Oh,
What do you think?
definitely, definitely. I think that's. I can't really speak for anyone else, but I do think that's where the majority of my self learning comes into play, where I sort of self analyze what I've done, how I am. I'm very critical of how I behave and how I sort of approach things in life. So yeah, I think being alone and sort of having a space and time for myself does work. But then going back to the topic though about astrology, if it were to make some sort of sense, then that it would be the case that all Virgos prefer exactly what I prefer,
What?
or some
Yeah,
semblance
exactly.
to it.
And that's definitely not true because I know Virgo, a very, very extrovert Virgo who gets on my nerves a lot of times and makes me wish I was an only child. It's my younger sister. I mean, you know her. She's just so she's very confident. She's
Exactly.
very kind of like out there, and like I mean, I encourage her. Well done for her. She's a great person, and she's very confident, which is great. But I feel like it's just about the circumstances that she grew up in. She had two older siblings who had to kind of like do the bulk of you know shit basically. Like I was always worried about kind of like earning enough money to support my family. My sister was like always trying to kind of like take care of everything, and my little sister, she just had, I mean, I don't want to say the easy ride obviously, but she had the freedom to kind of express herself how she felt like it, and it's just kind of like that came out in her confidence and her extrovertness. So it is definitely not true that all Virgos are going to be exactly the same. So I don't know how you can say that the time you were born influences every single thing in your life. I mean, do you believe in like karma and like fate and destiny?
Okay, now that these are three different things: karma, fate, and destiny. Karma, a little bit. Fate, I'm still on the fence about that, but destiny, definitely not. Definitely not.
Really?
I do not think.
Because
I mean, this is a very big topic, and it's about. It sort of relates to whether we do have a free will or not, and we could get into that another time. But my answer sort of depends on that at the moment because I don't think we have a free will. I don't think destiny exists in that sort of aspect. But fate,
no, but like,
for the same, yeah,
so you,
go
wait,
on.
so you're saying that you don't believe in destiny because we don't have free will.
Yes, that's
We
correct.
do have free will.
No, we don't have free will.
But that's the thing. If you're saying we don't have free will, then doesn't that mean everything is gonna happen the way it's gonna happen? So it's already written in your destiny.
Yeah, but this is why I sort of wanted to get into this later on. But let's just sort of summarize it for now. The fact that I think that there's no such concept as free will, and you're bound by your environment and the choices, this network of people and things and circumstances around you that are constantly happening,
Hmm.
constantly making the choices and influencing yours. You don't have control over anything. So to say that something is in your
Oh, I
destiny
see.
is a bit foolish because who's to say that was your destiny? If a certain variable could have changed or would have changed, then it would have been completely different. So it's I see it as a more of a neural network where anything could happen based on different circumstances, different variables and environmental factors, people
I
around you, for
see.
instance.
I
Yeah.
see. I see. I see. I see. But obviously, the world we're living in, we're forced to make decisions that, that we do. We can't like say that we make our own destiny kind of thing because in this day and age, there's a certain path that we follow, and that's what's gonna happen.
Hmm. Do you think fa- belief in fate, destiny, and what was the third one? Karma.
Karma.
Yeah, karma. Do you think they're just as much of a pseudoscience as astrology, or are they completely different realms of knowledge?
I mean, I don't think they'd even class as pseudoscience because I mean, astrology. Some people say, I mean, astrology is a pseudoscience, but this kind of like destiny, this concept of fate and karma. I mean, I feel like these are just kind of like things that exist. I don't know. That's the thing. I wanna believe that there is a greater kind of like power, controlling everything and who knows everything. Like that's where I think that's where astrology. I want to kind of like bring in astrology, like talking about astrology. It is a sort of religion, right? And this is it. All comes down to these religious kind of concepts, which astrology is one of them, because I think I kind of like I want to kind of like say that how how astrology started. It started like through the ancient Babylonians. They saw the stars and the planets as these god figures, and they obviously thought that their different positions or how they were in the universe influenced or controlled what they would do. So if they thought that there's something, if they sacrificed something and that would please the gods, and then they would appear in a different way that would influence their future and everything, and that was their religion, wasn't it? And now, obviously, in this day and age, we don't see astrology as more of a religion, but it's still a pseudoscience that we think that things in the universe influence how we are on the planet Earth, which is crazy if you think about it. Why would that be? But anyway, like, and that's but now what astrology was back then to the ancient Babylonians, we have other religions that we substitute for it, right?
Mm.
So all these religions, they say that they give us purpose, they give us meaning, they kind of like influence our decisions. I mean, they do influence. Religion is a big influence on daily decisions that we make, and anyone who religious would, I think, agree. Would you not?
Yeah, I would. I would. I mean, religion is a. I think the effect it's had on a lot of people, and not just recently. I'm not saying in the last 3 to 4 thousand years. I'm saying ever since humans evolved to a point where we could just look up at the sky and wonder what the hell's happening. Um, what's all these shiny things in the sky? What's the scary thing in the morning where if I step out too long, it's going to burn me? I feel really uncomfortable. We've tried to understand the world around us, and that sort of gave rise to religion. And I think religion in itself is a very primitive form of science. It is a science in itself because it does attempt to understand the surroundings and nature around it as well.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
exactly.
astrology was born out of that same concept as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. Yeah, it's a way of explaining things that you can't explain normally. That, I mean, obviously back in the day there was a lot more things. Now, obviously, we've discovered a lot more. Science has come a long way, so there's a lot more answers out there. But there's still certain things that people. I mean, a lot of people say that there's no explanation, so we rely on astrology and religion to kind of fill in the gaps, which
Hmm.
it just puts us at ease, isn't it? And then gives us a purpose, gives us a reason to kind of like, do our daily tasks, very repetitive daily things that we keep doing until the end of time. I mean, we've talked about this quite a lot. Me and Ramish, we're both, I'd say, semi-cynical people. I mean, and we're just very, we just think a lot of things are stupid. Um, which, I mean, it's just our opinion. It's not kind of like fact or anything. But there
Yeah.
are certain things that just, I mean, people distract themselves a lot. I feel they distract themselves a lot, and like kind of get worked up, and they get kind of like wrapped up in these things that don't really make sense and are meaningless, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And they
basically.
stress themselves up, and with these like little. That's what I feel like a certain amount of religion or astrology, or if you believe in that, is good because it kind of gives you a method to fill in the gaps. But if you get wrapped up in these things too much, then I feel like you're going down a wormhole that has no end.
Okay, here's a question for you then. How much
Yeah.
wrapping up is too much wrapping up?
I mean, if you, if every decision you take, needs verifying by another source, then I mean, you're gonna get confused. If you're gonna like decide on what breakfast you have in the morning by what the stars are saying, then that's gonna trouble you, isn't it?
Yeah, or have you recently read any horoscope?
No, not recently, but I'll tell you that. I mean, there was a time when I was reading horoscopes every day. Like, I remember school days, or when, I mean, obviously people still read newspapers, but I don't think I remember the last time. Like, in London, on the Underground, you have the Metro,
Yeah.
and that's the only newspaper I ever pick up. But nowadays, obviously, no one's going on the Underground because of COVID, so I haven't seen a newspaper in ages. And in newspapers, there's usually a horoscope section or something, And I'm gonna be honest. I will always kind of like look into what Scorpio saying, this week
Right.
or month or whatever. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just to kind of like see, oh, is it accurate, or like, I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like that's what sells, isn't it? Nowadays, astrology is interesting to most people. I feel like it's an interesting pastime or an interesting thing that you could talk about, a conversation starter, a bit of a social aspect that you can be like, oh, I'm Scorpio. What are you? You know what I mean?
Okay. But I think people who sort of blame their bad moods or their bitchy behaviors or how just awful of a person they are on Mercury being in retrograde or something like that is them being really really shitty people. It
Yeah,
has
I mean,
nothing to
I don't
do with
like people.
horoscopes anymore.
Yeah, I don't like people who blame their bad behavior on like certain things that have happened to them. I mean, like I mean, I'm not taking it away from anyone who like people who have gone through terrible things. I mean, it's tough. And I can understand why people like the whole like if you think of a very classic kind of American movie, teenage movie where there's a bully and the bully's always been like have bad home environment or something. But I always thought that was bullshit. I mean, like, yeah, I understand you have bad home environment. Don't take it out on other people. I don't like people who justify their bad behavior on their other life experiences or circumstances. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That was a
yeah.
bit kind of like, out of the blue, but it's just annoying. I just don't like that. I really don't like that. Like, be a good person. You don't need amazing circumstances to be a good person.
Yeah, this is where I would probably sort of go the extra mile and say, um, be more adventurous when saying this. Is that I don't think people have the. Oh my god, this is going to sound so bad, but I don't think people have the intellectual capacity to understand the repercussions of their actions in the moment.
I feel that's exactly yes, that is very true, and that's why in these kind of classic American teenage movies, the bully is usually a bit dim-witted, a bit
Mm,
slow,
mm.
a bit backward. So anyone out there who justifies their behavior, or to be honest, doesn't justify, just is a shitty person, you're the worst.
Exactly, exactly. Absolute worst.
I
Scum
don't
of
know.
the earth.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just this kind of like inner rant that's just come out. I just can't stand it anyway.
Fuck you.
But anyway, getting yeah, exactly. Good help. But more more importantly, astrology.
Yeah, back
when
to
was the
astrology.
when was the
Okay.
has have you ever experienced like someone you go to a party, you're having a good time, someone comes up to you and like, you start chatting with them, there's some chemistry and then they start talking about like horoscopes and like position of the sun or the moon or whatever. Would that put you off? Would that kind of like freak you out, or what
It
would
would
you
be
do?
it would be hilarious to be honest to see that in action because I don't think first of all why am I at that party with that person? I would be just no really I would be questioning what has led like what point what has gone so wrong in my life that has led me to this point. But if I am found in that way and I'm it's a friend or whatever it's an acquaintance that I don't know a part of their life that they are really strong believers into astrology or they subscribe to it, fine, I'll entertain it for a bit. But then I
Mm,
think it would
mm.
very quickly turn into a row where I would start arguing and telling them that whatever they think is complete and utter nonsense.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever say that to person. Like, whatever thing is, I'm a very kind of like strong believer of let people do what they want to do kind of thing. If it makes them happy, but that's what I feel like astrology is kind of like a mode to satisfy people, and people take it as a comforting thing, as with all religions and everything. It's comforting, isn't it? So if someone wants to take astrology and like learn about it and study it just to kind of like give their soul a bit of peace, go for it. You do you. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if someone kind of like comes to you and starts kind of like shoving it down your throat, I'm gonna have to pass.
Hmm. But okay,
You know what I mean?
since you say you're okay with people doing, whatever makes them happy, would you say that to someone who likes to put his gentleman's areas into a car exhaust for pleasure? You do you, man.
That's the thing. I mean, like that is a very strange example, which I would definitely say. The thing is, even that, if someone's enjoying that, then let them do that. Do you know what I mean? If they're not, if it doesn't harm, anyone else,
It harms
if
him.
your actions, yeah, the thing is, if your actions harm yourself, and I mean, if I care about you a lot, I will talk to you that, look, don't put your knob in a car exhaust.
Yeah,
That would be dangerous.
very
I don't
dangerous.
think anyone would appreciate that. The owner of the car, you, anyone who comes in contact with you after that. But but the thing is, if it's some guy, I just walk along the road and some guy's doing it with a car, I'll be like, you know what, go for it. I don't care. I couldn't care less. If it's thing is, especially if it's in a public place, I'd be like, look, you can't do that here. But that's the thing. If someone's doing something that affects other people, I feel like I would want to believe that I would stand up and be like, hold on a second, you can't do that. That is wrong. But if it's to them, if it's their own kind of like thing that they're going through, and it's not harming anyone, and not harming them massively, then I'd be like, yeah, go for it. It's fine. If it makes you happy, then that's all that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's quite a
Yeah.
beautiful way to end it. Yeah.
Also, getting back to astrology.
Oh my god, we keep detracking.
we keep detouring. I don't know what it is. I wanted to talk about something which
Go on.
well, we didn't get to talk about before.
To that
this
one
show
listener
that I
who's
started
still
watching.
with us right now.
Yeah, to that one listener, I mean, I'm so happy that you're still here with us. Everyone's been talking about the show, even my friends here, my Pakistani friends, my white friends, everyone has been talking about the show. It's called Indian Matchmaking.
Okay. I mean,
Have you heard of it?
I've heard people raving mad about it. I mean, I have people around me. I was just told yesterday to watch it. I have to watch it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is it
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
watch it.
I mean, it's pretty obvious from the title. It's about matchmaking, Indian style. So like the whole concept of arranged marriage. I mean, I binged it. I binged it in 2 days. There was 8 episodes. I think they were like an hour long. I watched all of it, and I have to say, man, it's entertaining. It's like thing is, as from like we're Pakistani. We have loads of interaction with Pakistani people, Pakistani culture. I mean, I'm still very in tune with Pakistani culture and tradition. My family's very proud of that as well, and I like to kind of like keep on Pakistani traditions. I like them. And one of them, I wouldn't say it's a tradition, but I'd say more of a cultural thing where in India and Pakistan, people have arranged marriages. But the thing is, I want to get this out of the way from the get go. Anyone who hasn't seen Indian matchmaking, I want to tell you that arranged marriage isn't how it seems like. It's not that two people have never seen each other, are forced into this marriage, and they meet each other on the wedding day, and then bam. It's not like that. I mean, there's definitely right. Am I right or wrong?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely not that. Yeah, I mean, your kind of like sounded like, nah, people get forced.
I mean,
But I mean,
sometimes they do. Sometimes
that's
they don't.
that's the thing, like that. But that's wrong, obviously, and we recognize that as wrong as well. In Pakistan, I'm sure it still happens. Obviously, people with on the lower on the socioeconomical scale, it definitely still happens, and it shouldn't, and it's wrong, and people get forced into it, and it's definitely wrong. But I'm talking about the kind of like the modern kind of like arranged marriages that happen now. I mean, people who are a bit higher up on the scale. This is basically I mean, there's still a lot of family involvement, which happens in every aspect of Pakistani life, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I mean, your parents. There's an auntie, a rishta auntie, as you call them, a person who basically is the matchmaker. She kind of like has these loads of files on different people. You meet with her, you tell her what you want or what you're looking for in a person, and then she gives you a couple options, and then you kind of like go through them, whatever kind of like suits you. You go see them, you go meet them, and then if it clicks, you get married. You know what I mean? It's just like a very, it's a speedy version of any online dating app, right?
Yeah, but your parents are involved in this as well.
Yeah, your parents are involved, your whole family's involved. But the thing is, in Pakistan, they always say that two people don't get married; it's the families getting married, isn't it? I really don't like that concept. I hate it so much. I hate it, man.
Same. I was thinking about this the other day, and it was repulsive. Didn't want to shower
Yeah, yeah. It's just like I was like, ooh, but was like, it's just so I appreciate that family is an important thing in Pakistani and Indian culture,
But
which it should be. I mean,
stay the
families are
fuck
important,
out of the
right?
marriage, dude. Come on.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, like the thing is, at the end of the day, these two people are going to spend their lives together. It's a very important decision, and I don't think you could make it. But as a parent, like obviously you think you know what's best for your child or whatever the shit, but don't. I mean, you know, you gotta kind of like give them space as well. Some families, I've seen them. They're just too closely knit. You know,
Hmm.
I feel like that breeds more problems than you know
I
than
mean,
anything.
could you imagine living with your uncles and aunts and your nanny and your dado and all of them in the same house?
Nah, man. Like, it's tough. It's definitely tough, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of work, and it's definitely not for everyone. But I mean, you definitely need space to grow. You need to be your own person as well. Um, but um, but yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not for everyone. But anyway, Indian matchmaking. What is wrong with
I
us?
have
It's
no
just
idea.
okay. Anyway, Indian matchmaking. So it's about this woman who collects these kind of like profiles of people, and yeah, basically a speedy version of online thing, and it's a lot of involvement with families. But anyway, the this doesn't happen. This aspect that I'm gonna describe now, this doesn't happen at all. I think in well, actually, I'll get into that. Maybe in some sort of like kind of aspects it does. But in Indian culture, I learned from the show that obviously in Indian culture, astrology is a big thing. And they show it in the show as well, Ramesh. They show it quite a lot, as in this the auntie who the matchmaker who has the profiles on anyone. If the two people choose each other, as in like they choose to go on a couple dates and get to know each other, she goes and takes those pictures of those two people to um, a religious person, quote unquote religious person who studies the stars, who's an astrologist kind of
Hmm.
guy. Is it? I forgot the name. They call it in Hindi, um, but it's something I forget. But anyway, he sees the pictures and he kind of describes their personalities. And in the show, the thing is, he describes the personalities accurately. But I don't know whether obviously if it's for the show that they've done that, or does it work a lot of times. But anyway, he sees the pictures, he tells them what kind of people they are. Will it work? Is it in their destiny to kind of be with each other? Is it a good match? Is it a bad match? And he literally does this just basically studying the stars and like their star signs and stuff like that.
Wait,
And that's
so
how he can tell.
this person, this charlatan that you just mentioned, um,
Sure.
does he sort of did he gain that knowledge through years of study, or does he claim to have divine knowledge of this somehow?
That I mean, they didn't get into that, and I don't know. I
Oh,
don't want to
okay.
claim that I know a lot about these people,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what I know is that he's a guy. I mean, they're all older kind of gentlemen. That I assume that they have had some background education on astrology, or they've kind of studied it themselves. They've studied religious texts and everything, and they understand where the stars are and everything, and the constellations and everything like that. But I don't know. I don't. That's and they I mean they take that very seriously. And if the stars say that it's not a good match, then they're gonna be like, no, it's not. But I feel like isn't that what like well that in some form it does happen in Pakistan as well, right? Like it's also I feel like it's superstition.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, imagine dating this one person for 7 years, and then finally getting to a point where you want to get married, and then this old man comes along and says you're not meant for each other. That would be crushing. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is. I mean, you have 7 years of experience to back that up, and let's say even if you don't, like for the sake of this show, which you just told me that people meet on the spot and it's very new, they don't know each other from beforehand, new families and everything.
Mm,
Even
mm,
then, I
mm.
don't. Do you? I just can't wrap my head around the fact that people are going to put a major life choice in the hands of someone who claims to know the stars. And again,
Yeah.
I know the stars in a way that is completely against what or at odds with what modern astronomy would tell you about it. I mean, I don't see talks about Neil deGrasse Tyson saying, "Oh yeah, today's going to be a blue day. I wore a blue shirt because Jupiter was out, and this is just my cue to wear blue." You never hear that.
yeah, because I mean, it doesn't have any scientific evidence. But I don't want to rule out. Um, I don't want to say astrology is a complete waste of time anyway.
Okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Like it's still a meaningful thing. It's still the reason we have modern day science. I feel. Do you know what I mean? Like it has led to us discovering lots of things. People always like take things like astrology and say like Isaac Newton. That's how he started out. He was interested in astrology and he was like, that's interesting. I want to know more about the stars and planets and whatever, and how this kind of like all works and their movement and everything. And in the process, he did great works in science, and he understood the universe at a great level, and then shared his kind of like his knowledge on how the universe, how a bit about how the universe works, and he wouldn't have done that without astrology. So I don't want to say astrology is complete. That's why my thoughts behind astrology not being complete bullshit. Do you
All
know what I
right
mean?
then. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. I understand where you're coming from. Sure.
Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, people use it today for reasons that make sense to them, that brings them satisfaction. But I imagine it's very reassuring. Like, let's say, I mean, okay, I'm getting married. I'm actually getting married in December, and if someone told me, hypothetical situation, I go to this kind of like guy who studies the stars and everything, and I show him a picture of me and my fiance, and I'm like, will it work? If he says yes, I mean, I would like, it would kind of like, I mean, me as a person right now, maybe it wouldn't influence me right now, but if I had a slight kind of like belief in the stars influence what I do, if he says yes, then it just kind of gives you the kind of like, oh, it's meant to be kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like you will work harder on something when you think it's meant to be that way.
Do you know what? That's given me an idea. I'm just going to take random people to these people who, claim to know the stars and just randomly say, "Is this a good person?
Yeah.
Are they good for me?"
And thing is, then the other person is inclined to go out with you. You're just like,
Exactly.
this person. That's a foolproof way of saying, mate, I have to marry you. The star guy said it.
Yeah. You tested it. There's no other way. We're meant for each other.
Also, we touched on superstition a bit, and I can't end this conversation, end this podcast without talking a bit about how our take as Pakistanis on superstition, and I think I know you know where I'm going with this, and it's the whole concept of nazar.
Oh, evil eye.
Right. So like, I
Yeah.
mean, what's that then? Like nazar. I mean, people who don't speak Urdu, nazar translate into the sight, right? Nazar is sight, and it's the whole concept of bad luck kind of thing. If I don't
and
know, like
and bad
people,
intentions as well. I think it's called evil eye, especially in like
yeah,
Islamic texts. That's what it's called. It's more like if someone has bad intentions towards you, and they're not the most generous
yeah,
person towards you. Something bad will happen because of the fact that they don't sort of think very highly or think very well about you. They don't want you to do well in life.
yeah, and that kind of like stems from like, let's say I get a new car and I post everywhere. Oh, I got a new car. I got a new car. That will bring on like people giving bad nazar
Mm.
towards me, and
Mm.
maybe a couple weeks later I get something happens to my car, and we'll say, oh, nazar lag gayi, as in like, you got hit by the evil eye kind of thing,
Yeah.
which is like, I mean, thing is, I fall kind of like, into this thing quite a lot sometimes. Like if something goes wrong, or if I kind of like, I have something of that I'm happy about, and I share it to a couple of people, and if something goes wrong, I will automatically be like, ah, nazar lag gayi. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was bound to happen. I was sharing too much. I was a bit too open about my happiness. Do you know what I mean? Does that
Yeah.
happen to you?
No, but I do understand.
No, it's bullshit.
I mean, yeah, okay. I don't want to say that because it does sort of stem from really deep religious belief. So I wouldn't want to dismiss it just for the sake of me being, very, very critical or very harsh about it. But I do think that there's no way to prove that this works. That evil eye
Yeah,
is
I
a
mean,
thing.
that's the thing. With all these things, there's no way to prove it or no way to disprove it.
No,
That
I
is the
think
thing. That's why it.
I think it's a pretty simple test. You just post pictures of your cars online and see who crashes first and who doesn't. And if it's like a
The
random
thing is,
pattern, you know it doesn't exist.
but that's the thing. No, I mean, that if we, it's just so random. It could happen and it couldn't happen. There's still no way. Like, I bought I bought a new car 3 years ago, and I did post it on Instagram, and guess what happened a week after?
Somebody's crashed it.
Someone scratched it. I remember I told you, like, someone keyed my car. Like, not
Yeah.
any fault of a bad driver or even my bad driving. I'm an amazing driver, by the way. But anyway, someone literally, it was parked and someone keyed my car on the side. And I was just like, well, that kind of sucks. Do you know what I mean? There was no. How could that be? I mean, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, it's just coincidence, whatever. He would have done it to any car. But something was drawing that person to do that, and maybe it was the evil eye. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, hang
How
on.
can you know?
So
Hey,
if you parked it on
can't
the
know.
street and they were like, there was a car in front of you and a car behind you, did you check those cars to have key marks as well? Because then that would mean that those cars would have had evil eye or nazar on them as well.
That's the thing. Like everything, you can't say everything bad that happens to you is evil eye. Like I
But
felt,
what's the
oh,
who's
evil
making up
eye.
the criteria? What's the time span? I mean, I could have nazar on me right now, but I wouldn't know until a year later. Some sort of
Yeah, but that's the
debilitating disease or
thing.
something, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was nazar that one time I did something really shitty and somebody didn't have good intentions about me.
Apparently, there are ways to check if you have nazar, isn't it? Like, have you
You're
ever checked
losing
your
me here.
nazar? Have you ever checked? So basically, I don't know if you've ever done this, but in my family, to check if you have some like bad juju on you, you can't like you do some prayer with some chilies and then
Oh
you
my
burn
god,
them.
yeah, 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 you burn them.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they're depending on the color, it's like if you burn them, if it's like it's different color, that means you had nazar on you, but because you are doing this, it's taking it away.
Yeah, but
Do you
again,
know what I mean?
Hamza, again. I could just take random
I mean,
chilies, put them on the fucking stove, and see different colors. I'm like, okay, yeah,
I
these
mean,
chilies
that's
are fucked.
I mean, yeah, it's just true. But the thing is, oh my god, there's stuff that happens that my mum is just like, she's a big believer in this, and she stuff that happens, and she's like, oh no, it's definitely nazar. So basically, I went to Pakistan last year, and I got ill like randomly at my cousin's house, and I don't know, I just felt a bit sick. It was a bit of a migraine coming on. I could feel it, and it was just making me nauseous, and I just thought I'd lie down a bit. So my cousin went to get me some painkiller and something. So I took that, and my mum was like, we need to take nazar off you. We need to take the evil eye off you. We need to kind of like it's too much nazar or whatever." So my aunt, she's a pro at this apparently. Like she had these special chilies and everything, and she knew exactly what to do. And then she burned it. And she was like, "Oh," and she burned it. And there's some like big flame with like I don't know kind of smoke or whatever. And she's like, "Oh yeah, there was so much nazar on you." And then lo and behold,
How much though? Did
um,
she quantify it?
I don't know. Obviously, she didn't measure it. There was no flasks or like she didn't have any goggles or
It was
like
like a
a
buttload of nazar.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. She said a shit ton
A shit
of
ton.
nazar was on you, and lo and behold, 10 minutes later, I felt 100 times better.
Wow.
But obviously, if you listen to my story well enough, I took a painkiller. So
See, I missed out. I was too invested in the whole story about the
that's
nazar
the
being going
thing.
off. I completely forgot
Exactly.
about the painkiller.
Exactly. I took a painkiller. So obviously I felt a lot better.
Mm.
But I mean that's then my mom was just like, see, it works.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it must do, dude. But that's the thing, that's just I don't know, it's a form of superstition. It makes people kinda like think of certain things and then that kinda comes into like karma situation as well. Like that kinda like extends into like in our culture and religion we kind of I mean, this is a good thing anyway. I mean, like, we should all be charitable, but our religion obviously encourages it. It very emphasizes it that, like the whole sadqa thing. Sadqa is like, you do a good thing and you get reward for that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, good things happen to you. It's like good karma. you do a good thing, you give charity or you like, help someone out or something, and then good things will happen to you, good karma. But what's your take on that? Because I don't know, I like to think that there's something behind that.
It's it's more of the same. It's more of the same. I think the act of giving someone something is better, but having the intention that, okay, this is gonna remove my burdens or remove whatever nazar or whatever evil that I have on me. Um,
Hmm.
that's a bit. I mean, that just takes out of the whole charitable effect. If
It
you,
is.
yeah, then it has sort of a, yeah. There's a cause and effect to that then, and it kind of feels selfish then. It doesn't feel charitable anymore.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I
But
get
just
it.
to sort of wrap it up, I mean, we've gone way over time. I think this is more this is less about the people who are listening and more just for us at this point. I
Yeah, literally.
think we're trying to make
Cut
up
it
for
all.
that
Cut.
lost audio that we had the previously
Oh
recorded.
yeah, it's gonna be an hour-long special for you guys just because we
Exactly.
lost our
Yeah,
first
Christmas
podcast.
special. It just came early.
Yeah, Eid special.
Eid special. Yes, Eid. How could I forget? Jeez.
Yeah, it's our
But
Christmas anyway.
yeah, but to wrap it up,
Hmm.
astrology, bullshit or nah,
I would be inclined to be like, meh, semi
really
bullshit. Let's call it semi bullshit.
semi bullshit and
Yeah.
Nazar, evil eye, bullshit.
Nazar is also semi bullshit. I mean, all these come under the same thing. It's semi bullshit, but at the end of the day, if it makes your soul, if it gives some peace to your soul, if it calms you down, if it helps you in a certain way, then all for it. As long as it's not harming anyone else, if it's good for you, if it makes you happy, then you know what, do it. YOLO.
Well, to anyone left right now listening, Hamza advocates having sex with your cars. So we'll just we'll end it right here. Do whatever you want. Just stay
but
curious.
yeah, be safe, especially with your appendages.
Exactly.
All right. All right. Be safe. Hope everyone's well, and thank you for listening.
Catch us this next week, I believe.
Yeah, we already have a couple of other topics that we're
Exactly.
dying to
We could have
share
this
with
this
you.
could have gone on for way longer, but yeah, gotta put a foot on the brakes. But yes, hopefully next week everything goes smoothly, and well, see you then.
Yeah. See ya.